Everyone, allow me by wishing all of us peace in our hearts. In Spiritism, you're not supposed to accept anything that we say. Please do not believe a word that we say. Rather, we must ponder, think about it. And since the topic is the existence of God and divine justice, the first question that comes to mind is, does God exist? Well, in Spiritism, we don't believe that God exists. We know that God must exist. Why? Because we use a scientific axiom which states that there is no effect without a cause. The universe is an effect and it must require a cause. One of the most famous scientists of our era, Stephen Hawking, he claims that the universe can be created out of nothingness. And that's very hard to understand. How come nothingness is able to create something? Not to mention that you're giving too much power to chance in order to organize everything that exists. There are so many constants in the universe that tells us that it cannot be the result of chaos, but rather an organized thought. What are universal constants? For example, the speed of light is a universal constant. Gravity is a universal constant. The weak force, the strong force, these are universal constants. And in order for life to exist in our planet, for the universe to be the way it is, these universe constants, they have to be in tune with one another. I don't know who amongst you is versed in astronomy, so I will try to bring some images so we can understand what we're trying to say. Let's say gravity is 10, weak force is 9, strong force is 7, and then we have electromagnetism that is 6. And these forces, they have to be within these numbers in order for the universe to be the way it is. If we change just gravity to, instead of 7, to 6.9, the entire universe cannot exist. These are called universal constants. There are 20 different factors in order for life to exist here on Earth. The right distance from the sun, the right distance of the moon in relation to the planet. So to believe, to have that strong leap of science, that everything is just a result of chance, it is to completely deny the foundations of science, which states that there is no effect without a cause. The universe is an effect and it must require a cause. After seeing this evidence, many astronomers, they say, okay, we see that all these constants, they need to be in order. They need to be finely tuned. The only explanation to get God out of the picture is that we must have then multiple universes. There are an unlimited amount of universes, and our universe happens to have the right ingredients to have life. Do you understand the absurd of this argument? We can ever prove that there is other universes. But of course, what scientists are arguing is that there is not a God needed to create the universe as it is. And the idea that they have, unfortunately, is the God of religions. What is the God of religions? It's a God that sounds very much like a human being. You have read in the Old Testament that we were created in God's image. But unfortunately, just the opposite have occurred. We have created God in our image. We say we're very jealous people, therefore we project that jealousy onto God, and we say God is a jealous being. We are very angry people, and then we say God is an angry individual. We are very racist. We like certain kind of people. We despise others, and then we say God is the same way. So throughout our history, we have projected our imperfections on to God. And of course, scientists will always reject this notion of a human being that is God. For many religious people, Jesus himself is God made in flesh. Now, obviously, this is not God. Not even Jesus himself claimed that he was God. He always affirmed, the one who sent me. I'm here to fulfill the will of the one who sent me. Always referring to something else beside him who sent him to do the work. In the Spirit's book, we see God as being the supreme intelligence of the universe, the cause of all things. Therefore, it's our logic, it's our common sense that tells us that this intelligent universe cannot come out of nothingness. Something must have created. And we name that force, we name that entity, we name that intelligence God. But the name, we could care less, as long as we understand that there is a force, universal consciousness, who is the cause of everything that exists. Are we on the same page so far? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me hear you.
Yes.
Good. So now we know that we must have a God, for the simple fact that nothingness cannot create something. When scientists, they make different kinds of equations to explain how these forces came into being to create the universe, they're just describing something that happened. But those same equations did not create the universe, because an equation cannot create something. It simply describes. We could spend the next 2 hours talking about how money can be multiplied. We could come up with all different kinds of equations. Yet, spending 2 hours talking about how we can multiply money, will the money multiply itself? No. We wish it could be like that, right? But money is a result of hard work. So if we talk about the equations that multiply money in the bank, our money would not be multiplied. You have to do the work. The same apply for the argument that these equations were responsible for creating the universe. They're just describing it. They're not creating, they're not forming, they are not furnishing the matter that needs in order to create the universe. So a supreme being, a universal consciousness must exist, because nothingness cannot create something. Now, what is God? Is it possible that we can understand what God is? For this, we have to use an argument in philosophy to describe something that we usually don't see it. By looking at the effect, I must have an idea of the causes. For example, this podium here. Obviously, this podium did not come from nothingness. We know that the podium came from somewhere. Someone manipulated matter, and this podium came to be. Now, I never seen the individual who created this podium, yet there are many things I can know about this individual by simply studying the creation. If I analyze the creature, the creation, I have an idea of what the Creator is. Do you follow me so far? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. So let's see what we can know about this Creator. Just simply looking, analyzing his creation or her creation. Well, we know that this man understands about mathematics. Why? Because we see that this side is equal to the other side. This height here is equal to the other height. We also know that he knows, or she knows, I don't want to be too thinking that this must be a he, because women are able to construct podiums, right? He also knows, or she also knows, about physics, because the podium is not falling anywhere. It's not tipping on itself. We also know that he knows about gluing. He knows how to work with tools, because he must cut. He knows how to work with a saw, with the measuring tape. He probably knows how to work with the drill. This man, or this woman, knows how to do all these different things. Yet I never met this individual. And I know all these different characteristics about this individual. If I study the creation of this building, for example, there are many things we can know about these people. They know how to work with electricity. They know plumbing. They know sewage. They know physics. The building is not tipping on itself. They know about support, about endurance, about strength. And we never met these people. So using the same process, we can get an idea about God. So we're not going to study podiums, we're not going to study buildings. What we will study is nature itself. And for that, now I need even more of your attention, because we're going to get a little bit scientific here. To study nature, to study the universe, we must know the basics, so we can have a slight idea of what this Creator is, or some of its characteristics. Obviously, the Creator is not a he or a she, but by studying the creation, we might have an idea of the characteristics of this Creator. Do you know that the solar system is made up of one sun, that's a star, and how many planets? 8 planets. It used to be 9, but they kicked Pluto out of the context. Poor Pluto is very sad right now. Pluto is taking Prozac for his depression because he got kicked out of the team. So it's one star together with 8 planets. That's a solar system. Now, when we compare the size of the sun in relation to Earth, you could put many Earths into the sun. As a matter of fact, you could put many Earths into one of the planets from the solar system, the planet Jupiter. And you could put many Jupiters into the sun. And our sun, in relation to other stars, in relation to other suns, very, very tiny sun. So when we look at sizes, our sun, which to us it's a humongous thing, when we compare to other stars, it's a very, very tiny sun. Now, let's talk about distances now, so we have an idea. In the universe, you don't measure things by feet, by mile, by kilometer, because the distances are so great. They use a different kind of measurement. The measurement that you use is speed of light. And what is the speed of light? It's 300,000 kilometers per second. When I tell you that number, it doesn't mean a thing to you, because we don't know what a speed of light is. This is why we need to put it into a context so you can appreciate the number itself. If we leave New Jersey in a regular airplane that travels approximately at 500 miles per hour, if you leave New Jersey all the way to California in a regular airplane, you might get there in about 6 hours. And the airplane is going at 500 miles per hour. When you drove here, some of you drove at 60 miles per hour. What does that mean? It means that if you keep that speed, 60 miles per hour, in 1 hour, you would travel 60 miles. So if the airplane flies at 500 miles per hour, it means in 1 hour, you would travel 500 miles. But let's say the airplane traveled at speed of light. Not at 500 miles per hour, but at 300,000 kilometers per hour. Can you imagine how fast it will go from New Jersey to California? Do you have any idea? Of course not, because you never calculated. But I did the job for you. I did the job for you so you understand the speed of light. In 1 second, the airplane will go back and forth 79 times. Look, now we know the speed of light. Isn't that something? In 1 second, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 60, 69, 75, 77, 78, 79. 1 second. Okay? Now we know this number. Now that we know this number, when we look up in the sky, the nearest star, this is not the nearest galaxy, the next sun, the nearest star. Remember, who are we trying to describe here? We're trying to describe the entity who have created you. We're not describing your stepfather or your stepmother. We're describing your father. So what are we describing? Everything that you own. It's your heritage. Because some people feel so important because they're the son of the mayor. You are the son of God. And everything that you see out there belongs to you. So what are we describing? What belongs to you. You might say to yourself, well, how come I don't have it yet? Well, that's because we don't know how to manage our own personal life. We're not going to be able to manage anything else. So the nearest star, our neighbor, if we wanted to get there, we would have to travel. And if we're going to make this trip, we must make this trip with our if we're going to make this trip, and if you're taking a woman with you, the trip might take longer. Well, because you know women love to pee, right? You travel for 2 hours, it might take you 4 hours. That's the amount of time you have to stop. But if you're traveling to the next star at the speed of light without stopping, how long would it take you to get there at the speed of light? Not 2 hours.
Seconds.
Not 3 hours. Not 5 hours. Not 1 day. Not 2 days. Not a week. Not a month. Not a year. Not 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. This is the nearest star you're traveling to. At the speed of light, it would take you 4 years to get there. What is the speed of light for those who just came? If I would travel from New Jersey, extreme east to extreme west at the speed of light, an airplane in 1 second will take me back and forth 79 times. That's the speed of light. So now that we are in that context, if I have to travel to the nearest star, it would take me how long? 4 years without stopping at the speed of light to get there. Can you imagine how far that is? Light travels at the speed of light. The sun's ray to get to us here on earth, it takes 8 minutes. What that means, if the sun suddenly exploded and you look up in the sky, you will still see a sun for 8 minutes. If that nearest star that we're going to, let's say it exploded right now, the light that we get from that star right now, it left that star 4 years ago. Which means if the star explodes now, we still get the light right now. We'll be seeing that star for the next 4 years. So there are some people who argue, I only believe it when I see it. And every day we see things that doesn't exist anymore. Every day we see things that don't exist anymore. Because every day when you look up in the skies, those stars, a lot of them, they exploded. They don't exist. But only now their lights are arriving to us. Can you get this? Yes? Did I make it complicated? Or?
No.
Because I'm trying to explain here a scientific concept. And if our minds are not wrapped around the fact that these things occur on a daily basis, it's very hard for us to understand. Now that we have spoke about distance, our galaxy, what is a galaxy? A galaxy is a collection of solar systems. Our solar system is one star, that's the sun, together with 8 planets. So what is a galaxy? A galaxy, it's a collection of stars with its planets. This past February, only in the month of February, the telescope Kepler added another 1,500 new planets that were discovered inside our neighbors. 1,500 new planets. In order to travel from one side of our galaxy to the other side of our galaxy at the speed of light. Do you remember what the speed of light is? If I left New Jersey to California in an airplane that travels at the speed of light, in 1 second, I will go back and forth how many times? 7, 9 times in 1 second. So if I wanted to cross the galaxy, how long would it take me? To get to the nearest star, it takes me 4 years. To cross the entire galaxy, it would take me not 4 years, not 10 years, not 100 years, not 300 years, not 1,000 years, not 2,000 years. Why I'm saying this? Because if I just tell you the number, it won't make any sense to you. So this is why I gradually give you the numbers, so our minds can understand it. And it's still hard. Not 10,000 years, not 50,000 years, not 80,000 years, but 100,000 years at the speed of light for us to cross from one side to the other. Can you understand how big our galaxy is? And our galaxy, it's a small galaxy when compared to other galaxies. So now I spoke about distances. Let's talk about numbers now. And what are we trying to describe? We're trying to describe the creation, so we have an idea of the characteristics of the Creator. Let's discuss numbers. When we count stars in our own galaxy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, this is done through calculations, because you cannot count each one of them. It's a measurement that you take into consideration the volume of the galaxy. And so far, what the computers have calculated in our galaxy that's considered small, we're not talking about planets, we're talking about stars. How many stars do we have in our own galaxy? Not 100 stars, not 300 stars, not 1,000 stars, not 5,000 stars, not 20,000 stars, not 100,000 stars, not 900,000, not 1 million, not 2 million, not 50 million, not 100 million, not 900 million, not 1 billion. 10 billion stars? No. 50 billion stars? No. 100 billion stars? No. 200 billion? 300 billion stars in our own little galaxy. everybody's looking at me very weird right now. This is the point, you don't understand what's going on here, because these numbers are so big, we really can't understand. 300 billion stars in our own galaxy, which is considered a little galaxy. This is why for those who claim that only our planet has life is such a lame argument. Because by sheer statistics, we must have other families, other civilizations, other inhabited planets, for the simple amount of stars that we have. Because if our sun has 8 planets, and let's say each one of those stars have 5 planets, how many planets are we going to have? You just multiply 5 times 300 billion. Now that we know what a galaxy is and how big it is, the American astronomer Edwin Hubble, he was observing through his telescope the night sky, and after some calculations, he observed a star from a different galaxy. So in a period of 24 hours, suddenly we found out that the universe is not our galaxy. The universe has many galaxies. And now they started counting galaxies. Remember how big our galaxy? How many stars we have in one galaxy? Now how many galaxies there are? So now they started counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Calculated. And the number is also approximately to 450 billion galaxies. Isn't that something? Well, I mean, when I first heard that, I want to fall out of my chair. 450 billion galaxies. This is why astrophysicists, they say that there are more stars in the heavens than grain of sands here on Earth. If you combine all the grain of sands of all of our beaches, you know how tiny that is? If you combine all of them, there are more stars in the heavens than all the sands of our planet combined together. So it's infinite. So now we have a picture of what this Creator is capable of doing. So now that we described creation, let's try to understand the Creator by analyzing the creation. And this is where I'm going to write here so you can follow my train of thought. This is why we assume that this Creator is all-powerful. Why is the Creator all-powerful? Because to believe that something that has no power can create all this is to go against logic itself. Do you follow me so far?
Yes.
Let me hear you.
Yes.
Good. Then when we look at the universe, we see order. We don't see disorder. And because we see order, that gives us an idea of a plan, of rules, of laws. Here on earth, what we have is disorder. Why do we have disorder? Because we have different kinds of people fighting for the same land. Wars are always about resources. So you have different kinds of groups fighting for the same land, for the same resource. That creates wars. But when we look at in the universe, you don't see disorder. You don't see chaos. You don't see different gods fighting for the control of the universe. Therefore, we say that God is one. Not many gods, but one God. And even if there were many gods and all these gods agreed together upon what to do with the universe, to us would be like it's just one God. Do you follow me so far?
Yes.
Then, what we also know about this God, it's not a he, it's not a she, like we said. If this God was a vengeful God, was a mean God, if he wanted to kill us all because of our sins, these are the sort of arguments you hear. All God had to do was to push earth near the sun and we all burn to death. Or push earth away from the sun and we all freeze to death. As simple as that. But is that what we see? No. What we see is providence everywhere. Insects that takes care of insects. Mother Nature. The motherly instinct. So this is why we say that God is an all-loving God. You follow me so far? Do you understand? Do you agree with me? Or you're not supposed to agree with me? Don't believe in what I say. Think about what I'm saying. Is God within the same kind of frame time that we find ourselves in? No. What we call time is an illusion. When we say tomorrow, it's because we know we have a night. But what is tomorrow? The day after this night. And why do we have a night? We have a night because the earth, this is the sun, this is the earth, and it's spin on its own axis. Let's name this part here Japan, this part here will be USA. When US is facing the sun, US is date, Japan is night. In 12 hours, now USA is night, Japan is day. So this night and day is nothing but an optical illusion. When we're facing the sun, we get the day. When the sun is away, we get night. But if the astronomer leaves the earth and now he's constantly facing the sun, is he going to have a night? No. For the astronomer, is there such a thing as a tomorrow? No, because he never went to sleep for tonight. If he's constantly staring at the sun, there will never be a night, therefore there will never be a day. So for that reason and many others, physicists know that time is something that we have created to keep our life in order. Because we need life for social order. Imagine Monday morning, you wake up and what time are you going to go to work? Whenever I feel like it. We must establish rules to get to our job. It's something we have created to organize our social life. But time really doesn't exist for physicists. Some of them might claim that time is actually the fourth dimension that we have. But the argument is that God is not within this frame of time that we created to organize our social life. It's beyond that. So this is why we know that God knows the present, past, and future. Because it's an all-knowing being. Do you understand me so far?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Why am I getting only 2 yeses? Has Daniela prohibited you from talking in here? All-knowing means knows everything. Past, present, and future. And for religious purposes, we will say that God understanding is an all-forgiving God. Because it's all love. All love means all forgiving. It's one attribute that we derive from the other one. Now, this is the moment that we're going to wrap it up. All this description about God. To understand divine justice. If you speak with a Jewish, with a Christian, with a Catholic, with a Buddhist, the Muslim, Taoist, they will say they all agree with this. That God is indeed all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving. He knows the past, present, and future. they will believe in all this. They will say that we agree with this. Do you have any doubt? They'll all agree with this. Oh, and because God is one, who created all of us? Who created all of us?
God.
Is it prohibited to speak in Chicago? I'm asking you a question. Who created all of us?
God.
God. Okay? So God created all of us. That means love us equally. Therefore, all justice. What is to be all of justice? Treats people equally. Right? That's what justice is. Have you seen the symbol of justice? The blindfolded woman? That means justice doesn't choose who she sees. Is that true here on earth?
Yes.
Oh. Here on earth we have favoritism.
Yes.
But God created all of us, love us all equally. Okay? So if we ask a Protestant, a Jewish, a Catholic, they all agree with this. But when it comes to explain simple things about life, when it comes to understand the differences we see, they completely contradict this. What creates a philosophical problem, it's contradiction. The argument cannot contradict itself. And I'm going to explain to you very carefully. We're going to create here 3 people. I'm going to name these people George. Do you mind George?
No.
Do we have a George here?
He's George.
George.
Like the prince. I mean, the prince is like him.
Good, so it's not him, okay, everybody? It's not him. Someone else. Why it's not? Why it doesn't want to edit the name George there? I want to write something else instead of George.
We are in Chicago.
What happened here? I could write, and the other one I can't. Is it? Why you can't write?
Go back to home. Up there. And then go into the box, see if you can get it out.
No. It's not allowing me to edit the name.
Yeah.
So remember?
Can you delete all
That's,
first?
look. See, this one is. So let's name the other guy John. And let's name this person, the third person, Jack. Okay? I'm going to give you a description of their lives, and then we're going to use what we know of God to understand their lives. I'll tell you who George is. George died 25 years old. He was a gang member. He killed people. He sold drugs. He was hated by many people. He could care less about religion. And then he died. According to most religions, where would George go to?
Hell.
Where is George going to?
Hell.
According to most religions, that's where he will go to.
Sorry.
Some people will say, well, but he could have accepted Jesus in the last second and he'll go to heaven. I'm telling you, he didn't accept anyone. He didn't believe in anything. He was an evil individual and then he died. I'm telling you what happened. Oh, but if he accepted, I'm telling you that he didn't accept anyone. He simply did these things. Where did he go to?
Hell.
Yeah.
Good. Now, who was John? John also died the same age of George, 25 years old. He had pancreatic cancer. He was loved by many people. He did so many services. He was a volunteer for his church, for the community, and then he died. According to most religion, where would John go to?
Heaven.
And let's not get confusing here, so I'm going to put the ages. Okay? And there's nothing much to say about Jack. You know why? Because Jack was only 1 month old when he died. It's called the sudden death syndrome. You've heard about that syndrome before? He simply died. According to most religions, where he will go to?
Heaven.
Heaven. Some people say, well, he might go to limbo and wait for the judgment day. You heard that before?
Yes.
Now, when that judgment day comes and they judge little Jack here, where is he going to go to? Heaven. So eventually he's going to go to heaven. Now, let me explain the life of each person here in detail so we can make an analysis and use what we know of God to understand what happened here. This is the life of George. George was born out of a very crazy couple. The mother was a go-go dancer. And she was humiliated by all the people who went to see her and did the things that they did. So instead of quitting that job, she chose to do drugs to bear with the humiliation. So she started to do heroin. Is this image too strong for you?
No.
It's because in my line of work, it's something that I deal with it on an everyday basis. And someone also told me, Julio, why do you shout too much? You always think you're speaking to inmates. Well, it's a Saturday, you're tired, you work the entire week. If I don't keep you guys awake, how are you going to understand the material? So the mother used to be a go-go dancer. She started using drugs, and it got into a point that she was dancing just to pay for her drugs. So one day the drug dealer said, you know what, you could sell yourself and I'll continue feeding you with the drugs. And she sold herself to him, and this is how she became pregnant. Do you think she stopped using heroin and crack when she got pregnant?
No.
No, she continued. And then one day a police came in and took both of them. She was 6 months pregnant of George. And George here is not even conscious of his existence, yet he refuses, he gets his first rejection. Why? Because when you go to jail, males and females are separated. So that's first rejection, rejection of a father. And then 3 months goes into place. They take her to the hospital. She delivers George. Do you think they allow George to come back to jail with her?
No.
No. So now she goes back to jail and George stays in the hospital. George here is not even conscious of himself, and yet he receives his two biggest rejections someone can receive. Rejection of mother, rejection of father. He's an orphan of living parents. And then they find him a foster home. And I'm not saying all foster families are like this, but some of them are there just to get to the money. Do you think they care about providing George the biggest human need that we have, which is love? No. They could care less about little George. So one day the foster agency comes in to check on George. George is very tiny, he's not growing up, he's starving. They see that George is not being fed, they're not taking care of him. And when they ask him why you guys are not taking care of him, well, he's too difficult of a child. He cries the entire night. Why is he crying the entire night? Because he is detoxing from the drugs his mother used to do before he was delivered. now they find him another family. So George here is not even conscious of himself, and yet he receives third rejection. They find him another foster family, and they do exactly the same thing. A third family, a fourth family, all he gets are rejections. His stepbrothers, his stepsisters abuse him, mistreat him, and gets to a point that he's 11 years old and he cannot take this pain anymore. And what is he going to do? He's going to flee home. He will escape because he cannot bear the pain. And now he will find a group of people that for the first time he's able to call them friends. What do we call this group of people? The gangs. Because they're giving to him something he never received before. Trustworthiness. But little does he know that these people are there just to use him and abuse him. And he will find out the hard way once he goes to jail and no one visits him. So now he's in jail, received his 7th rejection of his life, and all he wants to deep inside is just to be noticed that he exists. And what is he going to do? The day he gets released, he will buy a gun, and the first time he sees someone from the rivalry gang, he will shoot at them so he could be noticed. He could care less what's going to happen to him. He's going to go to jail again. But now, his picture is in the front page of the local newspaper. He got what he wanted, attention. But little does he know that someone else will be killed on the following day, and that killer will take his place on the newspaper. And once again, he will be forgotten. So now he's in jail, and because he's a minor, he will get 10 years, 15 years. Do you think that the correctional officers in his jail cares about his history? Absolutely not. So the day he gets released, his enemies will be waiting for him, and they will shoot him, and that's how he will die. According to most religions, where this individual will go to?
Hell.
Where?
Hell.
Is it for a week?
No.
Is it for 3 days?
No.
Is it for a month?
No.
A year?
No.
2 years? For how long?
Forever.
What is that? Forever?
We don't know.
We don't even know what that is. Let's say he goes there for just 100 years. So if he is 25 when he died, a quarter of his existence was the defining factor in keeping him in hell for 75 years. But we don't go to hell, according to these people, for 75 years. We go for eternity. So let's consider only 1,000 years. Not eternity, 1,000. So when we look at 1,000 here, 25 years is what in reference to 1,000? Do you understand how small this gets? 25 years was the decisive factor in keeping him in hell for 975 years. Does that sound like a loving God to you? Not at all. Let me give you now the life of John. Who was John? Well, John was born out of a mother who used to go to this specific church, and she sat on the first lane very close to the pastor. And she used to love him praying and preaching. And you know how church people, they really get into your business. So before they even started going out, everyone start pushing them together. You know, you guys make a great couple. And after they start going out, everyone start getting to their business again and asking them, you know, when are you guys going to get married? When are you guys going to get married? When are you guys going to get married? It's terrible, this kind of pressure. Well, when you give me the money so I can pay for the party, that's when we're going to get married. You know? And then once they got married, what's the next question?
Baby.
When are you going to have a kid? When are you going to have a kid? So all this pressure to get a kid. That's how she became pregnant of John. John is not even conscious of himself. Yet, he gets all this love from the church members. The day he's born, there's a party in the church. They're bringing him gifts. And because he's so loved, He grows up in a healthy family and he has many friends. Why does he have many friends? Because for him it's only natural to give love if he receives love. He knows that feeling. So he has many friends. He's very confident of himself. And because he's very confident of himself, he gets excellent grades in his school. And as he's growing up, with all the support, going to the best school because his father makes a lot of money. Do you understand what I'm saying? No. He wants to be just like his father. And he becomes a pastor again. He goes to theology school, comes out, has his own church, he loves, he serves, but then he has pancreatic cancer and he dies. Where is he going to go to? Heaven. And then there's nothing much to say about Jack. He was 2 months, suddenly he died, and where he went to?
Heaven.
Heaven. 1 month. So now I gave you 2 sets of information. I described the Creator, and I had some examples here. Do you think what we spoke here is something that happened very rarely or all the time?
Very often.
Rarely or all the time?
All the
All the
time.
time.
A little bit louder, please.
All the time.
All the time. This is not something that happened every 10 years. At least in my area, I see this all the time. Especially this situation in here. Next time we're out in the street and we judge someone, if we only thought about their past, what they've been through, it's not that we agree with what they're doing. We don't. But if you understood where they came from and the kind of stories they lived, it will be impossible for them to turn out to be something else. For some of these people, it will be a miracle for them to turn out to be something else for all they have been through in life. And sometimes they talk to me and they say, you know, Julio, I try to do the right thing. This is what they say, the right thing. What is the right thing? The right thing is what you do. You work, you pay your bills. That's the right thing. But people humiliate me all the time. And I ask them, what do you mean people humiliate you? Give me some descriptions. Tell me some examples. And this is information collected throughout the years. And as I tell you these examples, think of yourself if you haven't done this before. Because we Spiritists, we know how important it is about doing charitable work. And when we think about charity, the first thing that comes to mind is giving soup to people or giving money. But there are some important charities that we can do every day of our lives that change people's lives. It's not poetic, it's really true. Says you, Julio, sometimes you work in the movies. You know how you pay for your movie and there's someone there waiting to give you to get the ticket so you could go to the specific room that your movie is being played? Have you seen how people pass by that person? They pass by them and drop it as if they were a box and they proceed. That's how they do. That's a human being right there. But they give the ticket, they barely look at this person, and they continue walking. With my body language, what I'm telling this guy, go back and sell drugs. If you stay here, I will humiliate you. That's what we're saying with our body language. This is why they have their name tag. All these people have name tags. Why do they have their name tags? Because our names give us dignity. When the Nazis took Jewish people to be killed on concentration camps, one of the first things they used to do is to push them to the gas chambers. And those who would live, they took their names away and tattooed them with a number. Why? Because our names gives us dignity. If you have a number, you're not a person. You're just a number. This is why they have their name tags. What about the fast food industry? People order their food and they barely look at the server. 5. We have someone there. This is not a machine. And they bring, where's my large Coke? I order for large fries. Go to a restaurant and you complain to the waiter. Whenever you go to a restaurant, you complain to the waiter, I can guarantee you that you're going to get more than what you ask for. Don't complain. The way they brought to you, just eat it and smile it. Especially if we were rude to them. You know, people are having fun, they're having their conversations, they barely look at the server. This man came, he said his name, he said good evening, and no one even looked at him. So you said, oh, this thing is not hot enough, I want well done, I wear it, you bring it back, you're going to get more than your meat. Especially here in Spiritism, we know what our vibrations can do to food. See, this person who hates you, because we gave plenty of reason for it, sends all that negative vibration to the food and then gives you the plate. You eating, not just your food, you eating that negative vibration as well. What about when you purchase food in a supermarket? That's it? I have no idea. You push that food over there. You barely talk to the cashier. This is an individual that deserves our respect. When I look at their name and I say, hello Mary, how are you? How's your day? What am I doing to this person? I'm telling her, continue at this job. Don't care about the rude people, I'm being nice to you. When I tell that boy holding the ticket, how's it going, John? You like any of these movies you watched before? What am I telling this individual? Continue on the right path. It's good to be honest. When I go to a restaurant, how's it going, Jack? How are you? What do you have there tonight? Oh, all right, thank you so much. Hey, Jack, can I get a Coke? When you treat the person by their name, you could even complain about your food and they gladly would change for you because you're treating them with respect. Nice. One of these individuals who used to be a cashier in a supermarket said, you know, they wouldn't give you the money. They put the money on the counter because they don't want to touch you. So this is why they put the money on the counter. You got to pick up the money from the counter. Because if they think, if they touch you, Julio, you're going to be humiliated. They're going to be humiliated because they allow themselves to be touched by you. Simple things that we can do. So this happens on a daily basis. But let's compare here. If this individual is going to hell, and this person is going to heaven, and that person is going to heaven, we immediately see a discrepancy here. Something is not right. Because if God is one, who created these three individuals?
God.
Who?
God.
Now, did God use justice in treating these people, in creating them? Absolutely not. If you could choose, who would you like to be?
John.
John. Some people choose Jack. He doesn't have to do anything. And he deserves the same place as John. Just for the fact that we're able to see a difference, it means that we know they were not created equally. And that's what all religions claim. They were created equally. God gives them equal opportunity. Do you see equality here? No, we don't. So therefore, if this is right, we have to erase justice from this. If this is right, God is not our justice. Boom. Gotta take justice out of the picture. Now, did God know that George will make these mistakes? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So God knew George would be going to where? Hell. If God knew George was going to hell, what in the world did God create George for? If this is correct, God knew that He created George. He knew what choices George will make, and that those choices will send him to where?
Hell.
Some people would say, but no. George had free will. What is free will? The ability to choose from A, B, C, or D. It doesn't matter. God knew beforehand which choice George will make. If you have a son and you take him to get an ice cream, you know which ice cream he will choose because you know him. God knows infinitely more. Therefore, he knows the choices we'll pick. And he knew that George would pick the wrong choice, which would lead him to where? To hell. Well, but in reality, God didn't know. If God didn't know, then we have to erase all knowing from God's attributes. Even when we compare these two situations in here, God did not use justice with John. John had to work to deserve heaven. Jack didn't do anything. Why not kill us all when we're 1 month so we can all go to heaven? Wouldn't that be easy? Strong Christian faith believes that the blood of Christ washed our sins. So the question is, why not create us all before Christ so he could die on the cross and his blood will all wash our sins away? For the simple fact that you had the bad luck of being born after, you have to work to get to heaven. Those who had the good luck of being born before, Nebuchadnezzar, evil people, where are they right now? In heaven. For the simple fact that they were born and Jesus' blood washed their sins away. It doesn't make any sense, does it?
No.
It completely erases the notion of justice. I will repeat the sentence that we said in the beginning. In Spiritism, we're not supposed to believe in anything. We're supposed to ponder, rationalize, think with our own minds. Because if this is correct, then all that is wrong. But at the same time, Jewish, Christians, Catholics, Muslims, they affirm just the opposite. God is all these things. Well, if God is all these things, then this must be wrong. It's either or. Two of them cannot coexist. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Either God's attributes have to be right, and this is wrong, or this has to be right, and this is wrong. Which one would you pick? Column right or column left?
Right.
You must pick column right, because when we study nature, the analysis of creation tells us that. So this must be revised. So Allan Kardec did not create reincarnation. Reincarnation is an effect of what we know about God. What is reincarnation? The action of re-entering the flesh. With reincarnation, we know that God is all these things. God's attributes are correct. We know that God created us all with equal beginnings. The differences we see right now, it's because each person uses their free will in a different way. And that's what's changed our position in our evolution. Some people more farther away, some people more behind. It's a question of how we use our free will. And that's what we learn in heaven and hell. The fourth book of the Spiritist doctrine. All are created equal. And each one of us have the life that we work for it. It's not God, it's not an imperfect being, it's not the devil, but we are constantly shaping our future with today's action. If you don't like your present, do not ask what your mother-in-law did to you. Ask yourself, what have I done to myself to deserve my current situation? What is it that I have been doing with the resources I have received? Have I used my intelligence, my health, my time to construct my happiness? or have I used these resources, untransferable resources, to create my misery, my sadness, my unhappiness? Reincarnation is not a spiritist law. Reincarnation is a natural law. Natural. Spiritism didn't create it. Allan Kardec did not create it. It's a natural law. And by being a natural law, I don't have to like it, I don't have to know it, I don't have to understand it, I don't have to agree with it, but there's nothing we can do to escape from it, because it's a natural law. Therefore, our future is in your hand. Our future is in our hand. No one can shape your life for you. You are the architect of your own life. There is one person directing your life, and that person is you. If you're not happy with your present, ask yourself what you have done in your past, not to get the details, because our past is just a warning telling us not to make the same mistakes. But we are not here to feel guilty of the things we have done. It's just so we can get ourselves out of the victim's position to understand that we are responsible. Because then we understand that by changing our present, we'll have a different future. Not just the next reincarnation, but the future that I'm talking about, 6 months from now, a year from now. Our tomorrow will be changing by what we're doing today. So we are in constant work within ourselves. We are constantly shaping our own lives. So the topic that Daniela asked us to discuss is divine justice. Where is divine justice? Everywhere. Everywhere. We are in control. If we understand that we are created to develop this potential within us, we will always understand that everything that we do is shaping my next point. It's not anyone's responsibility to create my happiness. I am the one who is responsible for my own happiness. And in the process of constructing our own happiness, this is what Spiritism tells us to do, since it repeats Jesus Christ. Help others. Always do good to others in the smallest task. And the good that you provide to others will come back to you. Thank you so much, and let's take our break.